Hey guys, I'm super excited to build on the success of my industry job board by announcing the launch of CDG Recruiting, a more hands-on, white glove automotive recruiting service. Our team has decades of experience and has successfully placed over 1,000 roles in the automotive industry. So if you're ready to find your next rockstar employee, try CDG Recruiting today by visiting cdgrecruiting.com or clicking the link in the show notes below.
In terms of how many cars are out there, we have no idea. And that's what's so crazy about this business. I flew to Indiana last week to look at a collection. If I tell you, I thought I was in a movie and no cell phone service in the middle of cornfields in these sheds surrounded by rusted out pickup trucks. And I was told that this guy passed away, had hoarded 80 cars they never drove over the years. Sure enough, you open up these doors, it's like a candy store. Crazy cars. All these Dodge trucks in the 90s with under 50 miles on them. Cars from the 80s with no miles on them. And you'd never think they existed. They'd never be marketed anywhere. So how many of those barns exist? I don't know. We just got to keep finding them though.
Today, I'm excited to speak with Andrew Glaser, founder and CEO of Vantage Auto Group, the country's largest seller of interesting, odd, and downright weird cars. Yes, you heard that correctly. We dig into how he carved out his lucrative niche in the modern classic car market and uncover his secrets for finding these hidden gems. A big thank you to our sponsors for making today's episode possible: Dealer DMV, CDG Recruiting, and Lot Links. And now let's get into the show. Excited for this, man. What do you have quite an unconventional office that you're sitting in over there. What is it?
Yes, it's a Maybach. My office is currently being got renovated. So this was on our calendar. I was like, oh my God, where am I going to do this from? I'm like, you know what? Nowhere better than a Maybach. I'll be the first person to ever have done your podcast from a Maybach. So I'm living in luxury now. I'm comfortable. Got the massage seat on, air conditioned. Life's good over here.
Unbelievable. I'll tell you, well, by the way, for anyone listening, this is your cue that if you don't yet subscribe to Car Dealership on YouTube, you should, because you can see it right now. Show it. Can you show us around? Are you streaming from your phone or laptop? Or
I'm on a laptop. I think turned around. So this is actually my favorite Maybach ever made. This is an old school one, 2009.
Why is it your favorite, Andrew?
I'm going to show you this divider. $30,000 option. It was $475,000 back in 2009, which today makes it like $14 million with inflation. And Mercedes lost like 300,000 euros per Maybach produced, which is wild. The craftsmanship is unbelievable. The new ones, they're just S-classes with a Maybach sticker. This is like real deal, private jet on wheels. Incredible. You can almost lie flat in the seat. For the money, I think there's nothing better. So we hang on to it just for, I don't know, really because we can't sell it. So we're hanging.
Oh, God,
we're in it.
I thought that, do you sell plenty of these Maybachs in general? Or?
No, rarely ever sell them. But when I saw one with the divider, I was like, we got to get this. It's just like, for somebody who wants to travel in privacy and in comfort, there's nothing anywhere close to this where you have complete privacy from your driver with a power divider. I mean, it's sick.
All right. Well, we're not that different. I used to do my interviews in Hyundai Sonatas, so we're pretty similar there.
Not different at all. Yeah, you'll go a lot farther on a tank of fuel.
Yeah, sure. I used to when we were renovating our offices, maybe like 9 or 8 years ago or so. We had serious shortage of space, and we had temporary trailers and all that. But I used to just take interviews in my car, and I sort of adopted this method, which by the way worked really well, where I would interview someone. It's sort of like walking side by side, which is a nice way to interview, believe it or not, because it's a very kind of one-to-one interview. I've had very successful interviews that way, but also just having someone in the car with me and, going to grab a coffee or something. I mean, making it super casual, but getting them to really open up. It was always a nice way to get to know someone. I kind of got used to it, and I ended up, recruiting some pretty good people that way. So that's my little CDG life lesson of the day from my experience.
I think that's awesome, actually. Just when they're not good, you just say, "Hey, get out. Time's up."
Well, can't do that, but the nice thing is you can definitely calculate your route. So if you want a 10-minute route or do you want a 30-minute route, which keeps it nice. So, well, dude, I'm pumped to have this discussion. You're definitely a different type of dealer, where. Well, you know what? I don't want to introduce you. That's your job. So go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do?
All right. A little bit about myself. So I'm born and raised in New Jersey. I was born into a car dealership family, one where my mother wanted to make it known to me at a young age I was not permitted to go into the car dealership business. That was not a place for me. I would go to college and get a degree and wear a tie, I suppose, and suit and have a miserable life. So I started on that route. Actually, let's go before college. I started my first business at 15 in school. I was doing parties in Manhattan for underage kids without drinking, selling tickets to these parties. And that was like the kickoff of my entrepreneurial life. Fast forward, I got into marketing and sponsorship, sponsored events. I owned a few restaurants in Manhattan with a friend of mine. And then I always realized I was flipping cars on the side and I was making more money doing that than anything else. I went to Syracuse University where their cars are rusted worse than I've seen anywhere else. So I was bringing cars from New Jersey up to Syracuse and selling them out of the airport parking lot there. So kept flipping cars. And one day in my 20s, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to the car business. Like, it's where I belong. So I kind of brought this different perspective to, I say I was like a good person in a bad industry, if it makes any sense, because the wholesale business at that time had a pretty bad connotation. It felt bad
When
for any
was
girl
this,
I
Andrew?
dated.
What years was this?
I made the full-time move to the car business, I believe, I would say 2014.
Oh,
So
so
when I
not that
made the
long
jump.
ago. Yeah.
Not that long ago, no. I started messing with cars when I was probably 16 or 17. And at that point, we were just wholesale. My dad was in the wholesale business doing probably 30 cars a week. And he never really wanted to push the limit with anything. And that's when I kind of started to shake things up. We grew to a company doing about 4,000 units annually, predominantly wholesale, really didn't retail at all. We started retailing, I believe, 2017 at a very small level, website, minimal marketing. And things really changed for us when COVID hit. We grew this beast of a company in terms of wholesale. And now there were no cars because there were no new cars, there were no used cars. So what were we going to do? I didn't want to lay everybody off. So I decided, you know what, look, I had some specialty cars. I said, let's just try selling these. We'll put them on Bring a Trailer. We did that. And I was like, all right, this is interesting. I took a big gamble and we had done well when COVID started because when everyone was fire selling their inventory, I made the bet to buy, which ended up really paying off. So we started, I said, let's make the goal to be the largest seller of interesting, odd, and weird cars in America. Not knowing where I was going with it, but that was the goal. And that's the path we're on. My goal is to actually reduce volume a bit and increase margin. We continue to wholesale, but I don't actively pursue new clients like I used to. And we're really pursuing those specialty, interesting, odd, and different quote unquote collector cars, modern classics, that we're really doing while we still wholesale at the same time.
So your goal is to be the largest seller of interesting, odd, and weird cars in America. That's a very unique mission. Tell us more about that, right? So I have a couple of questions on base what you just said. First of all, and this is a quick one, right? Like COVID, you have all this conviction to double down and buy inventory when everyone's selling. Why? Right? Everyone is scared for their life. Why are you buying?
in my mind, I was like, okay, if everybody's stuck at home, they're all going to want cars to drive. Those are like those weird, interesting cars, Porsches, Ferraris, GTRs, fun cars they can just go out and rip. No cops are on the road. Everybody's going to want one. I knew the government was going to pump money into the economy. So I said to myself, eventually this is going to work out. It's going to take some time. We're going to have to hold for a bit, but really made this gamble that would, I thought, pay off, and it did. People thought I was nuts. Like my family, and he told my wife, I'm like, listen, like we're going all in on this and if it doesn't work, like, sorry. But it worked. It was a few very hard months, but ultimately it was the best decision I made for our business.
Okay, so now what before you do this, what cars are you primarily wholesaling? Like everyday cars?
Everyday cars, anything cars. The way I built my business was by going into a dealership and saying to them, what do you do with your wholesale? And this was really before ACV and before, I would say, online auctions really took off. And they'd say, well, I've got a guy for the $5,000 cars. I got a guy for the $20,000 cars. And I'd say to these used car managers, like, how much time do you spend wholesaling cars? Well, every Monday I spend like 3 hours, then Thursday, 3 hours. And I say to them, what if I told you I'd buy every single car you traded? They'd say, that's impossible. How are you going to do that? I said, I'll buy every car you trade. It could be an '02 Camry with 500,000 miles, or it could be a new Ferrari with 5 miles. I'll buy them all. Pay you the same day. I'll pick them up within 48 hours. You'll never hear from me with any issues. And a lot of them were like, done. Great. I predominantly did that in Central and South Jersey, and word kind of just spread about what I was doing. I was paying fair money for the cars. I didn't need to make thousands per car.
And how are you valuing them?
At that time, really just using MMR. I began using Viauto in 2000. I was an early adopter to Viauto, I guess 2014, 13, 15, right around there. I was using Viauto just to keep track of everything. And yeah, MMR was what I was using. I would say Galv's a little bit, but mostly MMR.
Well, let's fast forward to today, right? Where are you getting your supply? As you know, on a maybe like you said, you're on a mission to sell the most interesting, odd, and weird cars in America. Where are you finding these cars to begin with?
Everywhere you could possibly think of. I have a team of great buyers that are sourcing all day long. A lot of people now actually call us to sell. Our reputation is that we're going to pay a fair amount. People know we have to make something, but I'll still pay a really fair amount. I'll even overpay for the right car, and I do that daily. And we're finding them everywhere. I'll be honest, a lot of the cars that we're buying, we're paying full retail from dealers across the country, paying their dock fee, paying tax if we have to. And then we're still reselling those cars. So we're really looking everywhere. There's no honey hole. It's just so many different sources.
Now, your buyers are all in-house, or are they, outsourced team? How does that work?
So none of our buyers work in-house. My wholesale buyers are all local to where we operate in northern New Jersey, and I would say they cover like 100-mile radius. My specialty buyers are all remote. They're in Pennsylvania, Colorado, Texas, Florida, California, all over the country. Then they all work their schedules.
Got it. So what's their incentive? Like, do you pay them per deal, per profit on the deal?
Sure. So there's different pay plans we offer them. It really depends on their appetite for risk. It's either a flat per car that they find, or we're paying them a percentage of the net profit.
Okay. And if they're losing on those cars, do they pay you back? Are they just fired? How does that work?
They pay us back. And I've maybe had 2 months where I've had buyers with negative months. It's extremely, extremely rare for it to happen. And when it does, I'll just deduct from the next month.
Yeah, I always like these, I always like to get into the intricacies of the business. That's interesting to me.
Well, it's a real thing, right? If you have a buyer that leaves you and leaves you with 50 problem cars, a real issue. And I know a lot of people that have been in that position, and I really try and ensure that we don't hold on to cars for so long to prevent that from happening. There's a problem car and it's going to lose money. It's losing less today than it's going to lose in 6 months from now. So let's just take the loss now. I think too many guys like just wait and wait and wait and wait. Just get rid of it, bite the bullet and move on.
This episode is brought to you by Lot Links. Dealers, when you look onto your lot, do you see risk? Every day, almost half of a dealer's inventory is at risk of aging. That's an average of a $1,500 hit on your gross profit per vehicle. But savvy dealers can avoid risk and get that money back. Introducing LotLinks Sentinel, the first and only AI inventory management solution completely focused on predicting and mitigating your carryover risk. With a decade of machine learning optimization behind it, LotLinks Sentinel allows dealers to launch separate strategies for each individual VIN and ensure they sell faster and more profitably. All this so you can turn cars 7 to 10 days sooner and protect your margins. Stop accepting unnecessary risk and start controlling your inventory. Get the LotLinks effect with LotLinks Sentinel. Visit lotlinks.com/sentinel to learn more, or click the link in the show notes below. You're very interesting in that we'll get into your social media presence. If I'm not mistaken, are you the number one seller, or tell me, where are you the number one seller on digitally today?
So right now, I can't tell you if like today I'm the number one volume seller, but I've sold about 1,400 cars on Bring a Trailer, which at one point I was running 15 to 20 cars a week on Bring a Trailer.
Over what 1,400 cars over what time span? Is that lifetime?
Lifetime on Bring a Trailer. So that's really since in 4 years.
Why bring a trailer? Like, what do you find about selling on them? By the way, I have no affiliation to Bring a Trailer. I know of them. I've never used them, but I'm curious to know, why do you sell there primarily?
And to be clear, I have no affiliation with them either. It's my job as the person selling the cars here. And the reason I can attract great buyers is because I take pride in being able to get the most money possible for a car. And in what I've done, I find that Bring a Trailer brings the most money, and it's a place where we're able to really create reputation. I like the people that work there. I think their community, while it might not be the largest community, it's, I believe, the best community in terms of the amount of people that are there that are just commenting versus actually bidding. Um, that's really what I like about it. I also love that I'm able to keep the cars in-house and turn the cars quickly. Our goal here is to get a car in on a Monday, have it cleaned on Tuesday, serviced Wednesday, photoed on Thursday. So now it's been 4 days, have it live on Bring a Trailer within a week and sold within a week. So that car that came in, it's gone within 2 weeks. When we're selling it on Bring a Trailer.
Mm-hmm. And are you primarily putting classics on there, or what are you really putting on there? What type of cars?
So we specialize in modern classics. I really believe that's where we're headed. The bell curve of people that are coming into wealth are really in their 30s, 40s, early 50s. So 50s, 60s, and 70s cars I find are just a bit too old. We're looking at 80s, 90s, and early 2000s cars. So that's predominantly what we specialize in. We do whatever was cool when you were growing up, whatever mom drove, whatever your friend's mom drove. You went to soccer practice in a 93 Plymouth Grand Voyager. Well, we're going to find one with 10,000 miles. You're going to be like, oh my God, that's the Plymouth Voyager
Wow.
from kindergarten. I want that van. And you're going to pay, somebody will pay 25 grand for that Voyager just to own that piece of their history. It's really about the nostalgia factor for us.
I was just going to say, dude, you're like monetizing nostalgia. That's unbelievable.
100%. That is what we, that's what we thrive off of, bringing back those memories, which hopefully are great ones from people's childhood or when they were growing up, had that car on the wall they couldn't afford and always dreamed of, and now they finally can. So yeah, which is fun for me because that's how I grew up also. Yeah.
Man, so many thoughts running through my head. Like I've been thinking a lot about this theme in general, because you see it in so many industries. Like you see Disney put out, you know, like a revamped version of like Lion King or whatever, and movie theaters sold out, right? Stuff like that. I'm giving you like a bad example. There's been more recent ones that I can't think of,
No,
but
it's a great
you
example.
get the idea. Like everything that's nostalgic is just really, really has taken off in different ways, whether it be, films, um, snacks, literally. Like people are, on eBay, like you can buy snacks that you had when you were a kid. Of course it wasn't made 20 years ago, or maybe it was, but you get the idea. Like all these, just the nostalgia economy is massive. And I never thought about it from a transportation perspective, frankly. So I think that's super interesting.
Just look at what, say, Dodge does, right? Bringing back the Challenger, Charger, all names that are nostalgic, the Hemi engine. So we're doing the same thing, but for a different generation. They always say like what's old is new. It's cyclical. You see cars now coming out in these browns and greens that were cool in the 60s and 70s. Now they're back. So it really is a proven way, I believe, to generate interest from people.
Yeah. What are you making? Talk to us about little, economics here, right? What do you make on average on a when you sell a car and bring a trailer?
I couldn't tell you on average you make on Bring a Trailer. I could tell you on average our retail gross and our wholesale grosses. In 2023, our retail grosses were 5,500 a copy, and our wholesale gross profit per unit was 1,508 per copy. We did 3,300 cars, and for 2024, we're tracking at. It's really interesting. We've done less cars as of now in 2024. We're at 1,329 cars. Our retail profit, 5,129 a car, and a wholesale profit, 1,484 a car. So we're pretty consistent in terms of our gross profit per car. But as you can see, that volume is coming down a bit, which I would attribute to a number of different factors.
So anecdotally, when you sell a car and bring a trailer, I know you don't have the exact numbers in front of you at the moment, but do you find that it's better margins than your in-store retail or worse margins?
I wish I could give you a straight answer to that. There is no exact answer. It's hit or miss. We're talking about cars that we can't value, right? What's an '01 Grand Cherokee with 4,000 miles worth? It's worth what someone will pay. And whether we find that person online on a traditional marketing site or on Bring a Trailer, I couldn't tell you which one's going to pay more.
The most interesting thing I've learned about the wholesaling industry, again, as a retail guy, in my entire life, is that just how much of a gamble it really is. Like you think that these things people have it down to a T, they really don't. I mean, obviously you get good at it, but like you said, there's a lot of, you just can't predict what someone's going to pay on some classic vehicle. It's really tough to know.
Yeah, I think sometimes the cars that we think are going to make the most make the least, and the cars that we least expect that sometimes do the more, right? You never know. With wholesale, it's obviously a bit more predictable, but
All right. So you've had a pretty interesting career as well, in that you've really promoted yourself through social media, which I always love to have these conversations on the podcast. Tell us a little bit about how you got into social media, how you started promoting your vehicles and bring it on for sale online via social media. Just give us a little insight into that side of the world, because this is not like, yes, you're putting cars on Bring a Trailer, but you are also promoting it on the back end. It's not just necessarily turnkey. You're also promoting yourself out there.
I got into social media completely by accident. We realized that we had these amazing cars in a warehouse in Moonachie, New Jersey that nobody knew existed, essentially. So how could we get the word out there about them? We hired a full-time marketing person, paid the guy really well, and his job was to create these Instagram reels, Facebook videos, things of that nature, which looked really great, but they weren't getting much traction. So here we are spending all this money. He's putting out these videos, again, which look fantastic, but they're getting 3, 4, 5,000 views each. So I said to my CFO one day, and she's also the COO, I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. We're putting out these videos, they're not getting views. Do we really need this professional person? So we ultimately decided we didn't. So one day a car came in off of a trailer and parked by my detailers. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a video of this right now and post it. The car was dirty. It was not a professional video. It was just me being who I am, being authentic, which I think has contributed significantly to our success online. And I posted this video of a 1995 Ford Mustang Cobra convertible. It still was in the plastic with 12 miles on it. And I posted it. And next thing I knew, I'm getting these notifications on my phone. Your reel has 20,000 views, 50,000 views, 100,000 views, 500,000 views, million views. And I'm like, oh my God. Overnight went from 3,000 followers to 50,000 followers, or maybe it was 20,000 followers at the time. A few days later, my brother-in-law, who runs our sales, says to me, you wouldn't believe it. We're going to sell this Mustang that you posted, that you posted on Instagram. I was like, who are we selling it to? It's like Gabriel Iglesias, his assistant just called and wants to buy the car. And I was like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, let's do it. I wonder if this is actually real. So sure enough, it was real. Gabe bought the car, and that was the beginning of a great relationship that Gabe and I have. He's bought, I think, 6 cars from me in the past 6 or 8 months. Yeah, he's a really awesome, awesome guy. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to start putting myself out there. I never wanted to. I always thought that I was afraid to, I guess. People don't want to see me. They want to see the car. I'm like, you know what? They don't have to see me. Let's just show them the car. So that's what I did. And I began just posting these reels, showing people the cars. And the cars, as they say, like the cars are the stars. And they were. When you are a car enthusiast and you want to see a '04 Tacoma with 10,000 miles or '03 Dodge Dakota RT with 8 miles on it, people are going to watch. And that's just what I kept doing. I just kept sharing the inventory that we have. Nothing special, no lighting, no effects. I do not do retakes. I just am myself. I record them for a minute or minute and a half and post them. And that's been really successful for us. Yeah, it's been really fun.
So what does that drive for you? Does it mostly drive demand for vehicles that you already have, or how does that really work for you? How does it work just into your business?
As of right now, it's working in getting people to buy cars from us. We've sold a bunch of cars off Instagram, and now we're starting to buy cars off of Instagram, which I'll admit I'm not great at because there's just so much follow-up. So we're now hiring for that position just for, somebody to respond to all these messages. And it's been a huge, huge driver of traffic to our website. It's the number one driver of traffic to our site. The link's in our bio that I post to listing the car, and by a huge margin. It outperforms Car Gurus, where we're spending $8,500 a month, Cars.com, where we spend $3,000 a month, Auto Trader, Carfax, by a large multiple.
So explain that to me. When you say link in bio, you're saying you put that in the caption on the post on the social platforms. You say link in bio, and that's the driver, or is it another way? How do you actually generate that traffic?
I'll either verbally say it in a reel, and the link to this car can be found in our bio, and I'll always include it in the actual caption that I write at the bottom saying like, let me know your thoughts about this car in the comments below. By the way, click the link in our bio to view the full listing. And that's by far the number one driver of traffic.
And you do all the social yourself, like physically you yourself, you go out there, you put it up, you write the copy, you do everything.
I do everything, and I'm extremely protective of it. A lot of people that work here want to get involved, like, oh, let me take a video. I'm like, no, step away. We actually just hired somebody who's helping us with our website and a few other things. And I noticed he was posting Instagram stories, and I was like, dude, you got to stop it. That's my baby. So I'm a little too hands-on maybe, but it's, at this point, people know me. They know this terrible voice of mine. It was funny when I spoke to Gabe on the phone for the first time, and most people know him as Fluffy. I'm on the phone with him, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is Gabriel and Glaciers on the phone with. He goes, yeah, and I'm on the phone with Andrew, the Instagram voice. I'm like, oh my God, the voice. Like,
Yeah.
You actually recognize me from the voice.
Yeah.
So he authenticated me by hearing my voice.
So how else do you make money? You sell classic cars. You said you sold 1,400 cars in a couple of years on Bring a Trailer, right? What other profit centers do you have at the dealership? Like I read something on your website, restoration, but just kind of give us a rundown of how, what are your other profit?
So we do the things that most dealerships do. We sell warranties. We do ceramic coating, things of that nature. I'm a big believer in that I will not endorse a product or sell a product that I myself don't believe in. I don't sell window etch. I don't sell any of these, what I call honestly, BS products. I know that they can be big revenue drivers for dealerships, but it's also the thing that a lot of people regret buying. So I'll only sell them something I myself am into. So ceramic and warranties. The wheel and tire insurance also, which around here you really do need. And then in 2020, I embarked on this journey of restoring and customizing Mercedes G-Wagons and Land Rover Defenders. I really did so because I was passionate about these cars, and I couldn't understand why they were all $200,000. Like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I was like, all right, if we've already got our bills paid, this can only be gravy on top. Other companies doing it rely on funding their entire business just by selling these restored cars. So I began going to Europe really often and partnering with some people in Poland and Spain and Lithuania, where we do these builds. So clients come to us, they can pick out everything about the car, the color, the interior, motor, transmission, and we do a complete nut and bolt restoration. By the way, embarking on that journey was very risky, has been extremely stressful. In the end, has not been a moneymaker, at least not yet, because of the lack of control you have over people in other countries. And now we finally, I think, ironed out the kinks and will be, profitable and less stressful. But it has been an interesting experience for me, and it will continue, I believe, to grow into a profitable, profit center.
This episode is brought to you by Dealer DMV. In today's climate, you probably find your dealership selling more and more vehicles out of state. More sales, always a good thing, but then comes time to title and register, and everyone knows out-of-state titling is a major headache. It doesn't have to be this way. Our friends at Dealer DMV have created a program called Dealer 50, a revolutionary approach to 50-state titling. With Dealer 50, your dealership now has 24/7 portal access to calculations, pre-filled forms, checklists, inquiries, plus white glove processing and specialist support. You can even acquire duplicate titles in all 50 states directly through the Dealer 50 platform. And the best part, it's DMS integrated. Visit dealer50.com, that's DLR50.com to learn more about this game-changing solution from Dealer DMV, or click the link in the show notes below. And what's the economics on that? Like, when you restore these vehicles, what are you really making on this? How much time does this take?
So that's what it comes down to, right? It's this whole thing about time being money. In my life, the three biggest stresses I've always had were money, space, and time. And I'm very fortunate that the money piece, for inventory, I used to not sleep at night wondering if checks were going to clear. Space, still a little tight on space. We have storage facilities we use now, but time is the biggest one. You can't create more time. So how can you be as efficient as possible? These cars, the amount of time it took of me to deal with the people overseas flying there was tremendous. So if we were selling a car for, say, 140,000, they were making 40,000 a car, maybe even more. But the amount of time it took was just wild. And stress and sleepless nights. And parts missing and things of that nature. Now at this point, we really have the process dialed in. Our target profit per unit is between it really ranges, but it's from 20 to 60,000 per unit. And that just depends on how much work we're doing. Are we doing a full body or frame restoration? Are we doing completely custom interior with Aston Martin leather? What are we building? That's really how we come up with what we're able to make on it. And in terms of quality, our competitors are charging north of 200,000 for a Defender that we're charging 150 for. And I believe our quality is actually superior, which is really because of my obsession with being involved and being so hands-on and insisting that anything we put out there is of the Vantage quality that I want it to be.
That's what I was going to say. I think one theme I've just realized with you, you're talking while I'm scrolling through your Instagram page and just thinking, and it's clear that you are just really passionate about the vehicles. Like I could never do what you do because I'm just too desensitized to the cars. I wouldn't have an attachment to it. I would take the video for Instagram and I wouldn't really be that excited. I'd be like, get this thing off my lot. Like, let's sell this thing already. Like I'm not, to me, I come from a high volume, off lease vehicle play. And so that's, I actually admire that in you, how you really care about the cars. It's like your babies, each one, it seems like.
Right. And that's why I'm transitioning. The wholesale stuff, I could not care less about a 2021 Explorer. We sell 10 of them a week. When I see these cars, I'm like, my God, a 99 S320 with 30,000 miles. People think I'm nuts. But these to me are amazing cars that bring back so many memories to me, and I'm passionate about them. I lose sleep being excited about the cars that are coming in the next day. That genuinely is what keeps me motivated, keeps me coming to work, and
Yeah,
keeps me
you're cut
working
out for this.
hard.
All right, so a couple of different questions. Like, first of all, is this market more recession proof than the normal used car market? Like traditionally, the car market is pretty recession proof, up to, I'm giving you ballpark figures here, right? 30, 35 grand, maybe even 40, you could say, right? Because you need a car to get to work. The car is right next to the home. Like it's super important. Transportation, great. But is this market actually more recession proof because your target customer has, higher disposable income, is potentially wealthy, and they have money even through a recession? Or is it like, what's your thoughts there?
So that's a really great question and something I'm asked often, and that's something internally we really try and decipher. So here's what I'll say. I have a lot of clients that are big time collectors. I'm talking 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 cars. Let's just make up a number. Their net worth is $100 million. And the stock market tanks tomorrow, cuts in half their wealth. They still have $15 million. They're still going to spend. They're still going to buy that 96 911 turbo with 5,000 miles, and maybe it'll sell for 290 instead of 300. When we look at people that were buying cars like the 2001 Porsche 911s, the 97 Boxsters, the 2011 Jaguar XJs, that market has almost cut in half, which is wild. It fell off a cliff. And that's because those people need that money for other things. Now they're thinking twice about buying it. During COVID and just after COVID, people had so much money, it didn't matter. They were paying 40 grand, 50 grand for 99 911, which was wild. Now that same car is 30. And unfortunately, we see a lot of the cars that we sold at that time being resold for half. People coming back to us, hey, I want to trade it in. Imagine telling them it's worth half. It's really hard. Then on the wholesale side, we see it, at least in our world, the more expensive stuff, like the 2024 Range Rover, is far easier to sell than the 2020 Range Rover. Person spending 120 grand on a car is going to spend it. The person spending 50 or 60, the rates might impact them. The actual amount of money they're laying out might impact them differently. So it is really interesting to say. I will say that it is more recession proof, but it is not recession proof. That makes any sense. We're selling, it's, when somebody's going to your dealership to buy a 2018 Sonata, they'll say to you, okay, what's your best price? Well, it's 15,000. Well, I'm going to go look at 10 more tonight. When you come here to look at a car and you're looking at a 92 Wrangler with 10,000 miles, there's no other car to look at. You're buying this one or you're not buying one, right? So that's the difference. And that's why I much prefer being in this space.
No, I can understand that. And I like how you said it's more recession proof. It's not recession proof. I wonder how many Andrew Glazers can we really have in the country, right? Like and I don't know the answer to that. But I'm saying that how many of these cars are really out there? You would know better than me. Like basically, how repeatable is this strategy? What's your thoughts on that?
So it's really hard. The hardest thing we deal with is finding people to work for us and know how to value these cars. If you want to hire a buyer for your dealership and they're just buying late model inventory, they go to Manheim, they buy it, it's easy. I'm not kidding when I tell you I interview over 100 people before I give one the opportunity to do this. So is it repeatable? Yes. And a lot of people try and copy this model, and a lot of people lose a lot of money really quickly, and some other ones succeed. We keep trying to stay ahead of the curve, keep innovating ways to close deals faster, have a better process than other people, maintain the reputation. And there always will be more cars. As much as we think there's never a car like it, maybe not exactly like it. Remember something. Every year that passes, we increase the year that we're looking for. So if last year we were looking for, let's just say 2010 and older, under 50,000 miles. Now we're looking for 2011 and older, under 50,000 miles. So that bell curve keeps sliding to the right, and we keep looking for newer cars. So I don't think that the lake completely dries up. It just refills with new water, right? It's we keep moving right. And in terms of how many cars are out there, we have no idea. And that's what's so crazy about this business. I flew to Indiana last week to look at a collection. If I tell you, like, I thought I was in a movie and no cell phone service in the middle of cornfields in these sheds surrounded by rusted out pickup trucks. And I was told that this guy passed away, had hoarded 80 cars they never drove over the years. Sure enough, you open up these doors, it's like a candy store, crazy cars. All these Dodge trucks in the 90s with under 50 miles on them, cars from the 80s with no miles on them, and you'd never think they existed. They'd never be marketed anywhere. So how many of those barns exist? I don't know. We just got to keep finding them, though. But I do believe that we'll keep finding more. And we also will change our parameters, right? If you're only looking for under 50,000 miles, well, maybe now we'll buy a car with 70,000 miles that's really clean and rust-free and in awesome condition. So it's just changing up what you're looking for. You can't be so specific and narrow-minded.
If I right now gave you, a $500,000 vehicle, said, Andrew, go sell it, what do you do? Like, what's the next steps for you?
A $500,000 vehicle. I don't sell many of them, but the first thing I would do is put it on Instagram. Second thing I would do is call a bunch of collector clients I had. And the third thing I'd do is probably put it on Bring a Trailer, if it was something that was unique. And you could say to yourself, well, I could put it on Bring a Trailer myself, right? You could do it yourself. Everybody says, I could do it myself. Try doing it yourself. That's what I tell people. It's not as easy as it looks. I have people that work here that their only job is dealing with people from Bring a Trailer. Questions, comments, some somewhat ridiculous requests. And people know when they're buying from us that they have that, there's that reputation, which I keep going back to. And we've proven our ability to get more money for the same car than other sellers.
So what's next? Look, what's next for your company, for your business? You've grown tremendously, by leveraging social, by deploying a very unique playbook, focusing on, like you said, odd, interesting, weird cars in the marketplace. What's next for your business?
What's next? Great question. So I hope to continue increasing the volume of those odd, weird, different, nostalgic cars. Now we're also getting into doing the social side of things, not just online, really bringing it back to being in person. I think that since COVID, these car clubs, cars and coffee events, car shows have become tremendous.
Experiential.
With our name, exactly. People want to see these cars, touch them, talk about them. So the goal of this renovation that we're doing is to really bring people here, to create that experience for them, hang out amongst the cars. Hope to be doing a lot of events in our space and really doing them nationally. Taking doing a Vantage Auto roadshow, say. If you're a car dealership, you're a new car dealer, and you don't know how to bring in people, we'll help you. Because nobody wants to come and see, the latest Grand Cherokee. But if we say, hey, we're going to do a Vantage Auto sponsored cars and coffee event on a Saturday morning, and by the way, they're bringing these two ridiculously rare early 90s Jeeps, you're going to get people in your area to come see those cars, bring their 90s, 80s cars, and really create a cool event at your dealership to create a different type of experience. That's something I really hope to do, in Q4 24 and then into 2025. And we also hope to start going to more existing events, whether they be concourse events, things of that nature. We're going to be putting our cars into those events and really ourselves joining that community, which I never did simply because I didn't have that time. So I'm okay with doing a little bit less volume, but putting ourselves out there, sharing, my team's expertise, helping dealers understand these cars a bit better, and really getting in front of that car enthusiast community nationwide. That's certainly a goal.
Do dealers ever ask you if you do consulting or if you share information and stuff like this, how to buy and sell your way?
Great question. People ask me, but not in appropriate ways. They'll like message me on Facebook, like, "Hey, can you appraise this for me?" And I'm like, "Hey, no." Like, it's weird. I never came up with the right way to approach the consulting thing. I hope to start doing that now because the amount of money dealers leave on the table is mind-boggling, like absolutely insane. They're looking at MMR, you know, pick a car, 97 Porsche Boxster with 20,000 miles. MMR is like 6 grand. And they'll think they're at 7,500. They've appraised this car at the moon. They lose the deal. We're going to put like 13,000 on that same car. So imagine how many deals these dealerships are losing when they take those cars in and then get 9 grand for that car that they took in for 7,500. They think they just did great at the sale. We're buying it for 9 and selling it for 15. So they're not really doing as great as they
And
think.
and when you're selling it for 15, are you selling it on Bring a Trailer? Is that what you mean? Is
It could be anywhere. It could be our website. It could be Bring a Trailer. There's no conventional way to look up the values of these
but you're
cars.
basically saying your reputation, the way you sell your cars is able to generate an extra five, three, four, $5,000 of alpha to which means you just have a competitive advantage.
No, what I'm saying is that the dealer that took that car in, if they asked, for example, on their website, 99.95, they'd think they did well. The auto says it makes sense. They did well. We'll go to their dealership. We'll buy that car. We'll pay their doc fee, their whatever there is, and resell it for 15 on our website or wherever else. Just because they don't understand that market.
So you're saying, so I am trying to clarify, you're saying that dealers are underpricing these cars because they don't understand the market that
Thousand
exists.
percent.
And they're underpricing the vehicles because they're going by book values or, market values that are just incorrect.
They're going by book values. They're going by the auto. And in a lot of cases, they're wholesaling cars that they shouldn't. And they're losing tons of deals. People that have trades that they say can't be worth that kind of money, they just lost the deal. When they might ask us about that car, we might put a number on it that blows their mind and makes no sense to them, but to us makes complete sense. So my goal is to really help dealers understand how to value what I call the unconventional trade. What's an '05 Lexus LS worth with 10,000 miles or 2,000 miles? I don't know. I mean, I do know, but they don't. They're just using the tools that they have in front of them, which is Viauto, MMR, Black Book, KBB, things of that nature. So I think dealers lose a lot of deals. I think they're wholesaling cars they shouldn't be. And when they're retailing cars, they're just not, the method they're using to price is not the method they should be using.
And then, so how do you value the unconventional trade today?
We look at all different websites to see where these cars have traded. We use really our knowledge. We sell enough of them to know that, I'm going to go back to the Boxster because I just spoke about it, that a Carrera white Boxster is worth significantly more than Arctic Silver Boxster. Boxster red interior is worth significantly more than a black interior. When I say significantly, we're talking thousands of dollars. An aero kit on a 99 911 is worth 15 grand. People just don't know that. You wouldn't know that unless you live in this market day in and day out, or you really dive deep into all of the complete listings out there. So we just build a Rolodex of this knowledge to understand them. That way we appraise cars in seconds just because we handle so many of these cars. And there's just no good way of doing it, no good conventional way. Yeah, it's definitely different.
As they say, riches are in the niches. So
Yeah, exactly. Someone's junk, someone's treasure, right?
dude, this has been super fun, man. Any closing thoughts? Any questions for me? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'm curious what you think. What do you think of this market? Where are we headed? What's your opinion?
Look, first of all, you mentioned the fact that people try to trade in cars a couple years right after COVID and whatnot. Prices slapped in half. That's very common across almost all asset classes. I would say, barring some real estate, obviously. But, let's say watches, right? I hear the same thing, right? I spoke with like a watch dealer who's a friend of mine, just, hey, what's up at the market? Because I'm interested. And he said, hey, you just give me some anecdotes. This guy reached back out to me. He purchased a watch a couple years ago for 100 grand. Now it's, 60 grand, whatever. So I just feel like that, that normalization or whatever you want to call it, reversion has happened in many markets. That doesn't surprise me. I like these markets, man. I like markets where it's like you said, it's more recession proof. That person that has 100 million, maybe now they have 50 million. That's still a lot of disposable
A lot
income.
of money.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's a lot of money just to have, and net worth or whatever, to spend on what you'd like. And you're not selling, $10 million assets. You're selling, 100,000, 200,000, 20 grand, 50 grand. I mean, these are, relatively very affordable for the wealthy customer. So I love that, man. I think you're on a great path. I love how you're leveraging social. I think if I had to give you one piece of feedback, I'm trying to think very critically if I could be helpful to you here. I would probably say find ways to scale yourself on social media. And I can help you with this, but I think I've also had that struggle, especially when I launched Car Dealership Guy. I said, how am I ever going to be able to scale this business? Or back then it was a brand. It wasn't even a business. It was just like an account. Today we're, 7 media properties and growing, over 100 million cumulative impressions per month across all the properties. And I wouldn't be able to do that without my team, period. It's just impossible. I wouldn't even want to do that without a team because I'd be killing myself. So I think if you isolate everything you do, right? If you try to really break down what you do into very specific things, then it makes life easier. And you don't scale it all at once, right? It takes time and it's got to make sense, financially. But like for me, right, when I asked myself, like, how do I create, X type of content or this type of content, whatever, then I said, okay, well, you got to be able to write copy. You got to be able to write a headline. You need to be able to tell a story. You need to be able to record a video. Like if you isolate things, you can slowly start scaling yourself up in a way where you don't feel like today you're completely relinquishing control and losing your touch. You kind of go one by one, thing by thing. And over time, when you really isolate all the different competencies, you can really grow well. So that's my 2 cents. You can take it for what it's worth. You're clearly doing an incredible job at what you're doing.
Thank you. No, I think having a great team is so important. I have a few people on my side that without them, we'd be nothing. But it is that it's time, and it takes up a lot of time, and you have to be willing to give it up, which I am to the right person. So I really value that feedback, and I hope to be able to scale. That's something that I'm really hoping for, and I appreciate any help or expertise you can offer.
Well, dude, loved having you on. This is such a unique type of episode. People are going to love it. You're probably going to get a ton of messages afterwards. So
follow at Vantage Auto Collection on Instagram. Woo!
Yeah, Vantage Auto Collection on IG, baby. That's where we can find you.
That's right.
All right, Andrew, thanks for coming on, brother. This was awesome.
Cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
One of the craziest things about the Car Dealership Guy platform is our direct access to literally thousands of dealership and automotive employees. So naturally, I often hear this question: CDG, can you use your network to help me fill an open role at my company? Well, now I can. Building on the success of my free industry job board, I'm proud to launch CDG Recruiting, a more hands-on white glove automotive recruiting service. Whether you're looking to fill roles in dealership management, C-suite, F&I, fixed ops, auto tech, SaaS, we take the hassle out of hiring by doing the heavy lifting for you. And here's the best part: we vet and screen thousands of candidates so you don't have to. And with our placement guarantee, hiring through CDG Recruiting is 100% worry-free. Our team has decades of experience and has successfully placed over 1,000 roles in the automotive industry. So if you're ready to find your next rockstar employee, try CDG Recruiting today by visiting cdgrecruiting.com or clicking the link in the show notes below. Again, that's cdgrecruiting.com. All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Please give the podcast a rating, consider subscribing to the show, and check the show notes for links to what we talked about. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.